country. We were in this country when a supposed national security operative went to the house of Ken Ofori-Atta with a gun.
No.
What is no? Did that happen or not?
Is this the first time any security agency goes to
Look.
You forgot what you did to many others.
Madam Bright said something.
This is why we're here today.
No,
right?
Madam Bright said something that was very instructive.
OSP did not do a good job. But for me, I think it doesn't affect the case in any way. Interpol was not a court to try anybody. It was only to locate and move you back to your jurisdiction to be tried. And therefore, if all that is out of the way now and the man is already in custody, as it were, what's the fuss about it? I don't even see.
Can we spare could we stretch us by sparing the OSP, because of course what ICE was doing is very different from what the OSP was pursuing.
Whatever it is, what the basic reason for which the OSP was doing what they were doing was to bring him to the jurisdiction. Is that not it? So if by some stroke of good luck or whatever, call it whatever, the man has been arrested and he's undergoing some trials and the case has been brought before the judge and the judge is asking for some other details to proceed, I don't think that we should be too excited about the OSP has failed, and I'm worried for the people who say the OSP has failed. These are people who appointed this OSP and told us all manner of nice things and that he was better than Amidu, right? And that he was good, he was a lawyer per excellence. We agree, yes. You can be a good lawyer in one case, and in the following case, they say you are a bad lawyer. So this business about trying to stain the OSP is what worries me. And we're not going to allow that to happen because, you see, our institutions will definitely go through some of these challenges.
Okay.
I mean, where you go to case, I mean, the renowned lawyers you see around this case.
So it's a challenge, but we should pardon it.
Yeah, we don't have to waste our time too much on this issue.
Yeah, I don't think it's I don't think it's so much a failure of the whole institution of the OSP failing. But I think that where there are issues, we have to highlight them so we can improve.
Okay.
And also, I don't see anything wrong with the first step that they took, because at the time, they weren't even sure that he was in the U.S.
But he told them he was headed to the US.
He told them he was in the U.S., but they were not actually 100% sure. And also, they didn't know that his visa had expired, and all those things that were revealed later were not known at the time. So I think it was in order that they did that. But once ICE detained him, he had been located. So at that point, they should have withdrawn it or abandoned the process.
Okay.
That's what I
think. So my point well made, and therefore I think we're wasting too much time. I mean, sorry to say that on this business about OSP having failed, they didn't comply to due notice and all that. I think it's neither here nor there. What is critical for us as Ghanaians is that our anti-corruption institutions should be up and doing. In fact, we actually need their support, or they need our support more than ever. If you have lawyers in this country who think they can help the OSP to prosecute their case, why stand aloof? Why stand away? And then when he fails, you come on air to celebrate his failure. Why don't you join? Why don't you offer your widow's mite as a citizen in helping him to, unravel some of these issues? Unfortunately, we have politicized this whole process. And this whole thing about politics coming into it is because we ourselves as Ghanaians did this. Because people were even demonstrating in the US and all that. Yeah. In fact, we made that to look political. Yes. How did crime of corruption become a political issue?
I was worried about that. When I saw all that, I knew that it was going to
affect. In terms of commentaries around his job or the
commentaries, there was a demonstration in the US asking that he should be released and sent to Ghana and all that.
And
it could be orchestrated.
The embassy here even.
Okay. I think that's where maybe we blurred the lines between what crime is and what political, intimidation or what's the other word? Intimidation or persecution, they call it, is. Okay. So I don't think...
Let me hear, Kofi. When I go around the table again, I already gave a question to Lom. And the back of this is that many say that the OSP is not very independent. And so when we invite the Attorney General, this by default an extension of political coloration anyway. That's what we've just talked about. But let me hear Kofi first.
Yeah, a very good morning to you and to my colleague panelist. But my question really is rhetorical. My first question is, was there really ever a time where we didn't know where Ken Ofori-Atta was. Ken Ofori-Atta wrote a letter to the Chief of Staff that he was traveling to the United States to seek medical help. We all knew where Ken Ofori-Atta was, to the extent that we even found out which hospital he was in. So we're from this argument that they weren't sure of where he was and, you know, they were trying to be sure. Even at the time that the OSP was engaging his lawyers, they told him. They told him, his family wrote a letter that our son is in the US, he's in a hospital, he's going through all these processes. Everything was clear. There was never a time where we didn't know where Ken Ofori-Atta was. What are we saying? Even when he went to London and came back to the US, he made it public.
He went to London and came back?
Yeah, at the time.
Was that public?
No. Yeah, the family wrote. The family wrote. What is?
I mean, I didn't report it as a journalist.
Yeah, it was not public.
I'm saying that the family wrote a letter. Don't you recall the several times the family wrote letters?
No, but
There was a gap.
Please, can I speak? All of you have had the chance to speak. The point I am making to you is it was not ever in doubt where Ken Ofori-Atta was. Nobody can tell me that they ever doubted where Ken Ofori-Atta was. Why are we creating the impression that we didn't know? The guy didn't feel well. He went to the US. He wrote to the Chief of Staff. The question was, please return on the date you promised you are going to return. And then he came back and said, I am not done with the procedure. And then the OSP said, look, I'm giving you an extension to this date. Come back. Was that not the case? Have we forgotten the engagement between the OSP and his lawyers as to when he should come back versus when he said he was going to come back?
Then what? Then
he, of course. And then the argument became, do we proceed to try him, what's the term for it? In absentia. Yeah. So let's try and recollect what transpired. Let's try and recollect what transpired. So the question of where he was never in doubt. Even a child knew Ken Ofori-Atta was in the USA, even to the extent that they mentioned the hospital he was in Rochester, New York. So away from this, we weren't so sure, and so for me, that was the first blunder. There was no need to go the route the OSP went. Then number two, the issue about politicization. My brother, the politicization of corruption-related cases, especially in this time, started with oral. We were here when a president-elect, without any powers, constituted a body to begin, quote-unquote, the processes of prosecuting people or investigating people or whatever. That is where the whole politicization started. To the extent that they put out an amount of how much they are going to retrieve from people. How many times did people warn the Attorney General? You read the statement, or I'm sure you are going to read the statement from the OSP. He references utterances by the Ministry of Justice in the OSP's own statement. So politicization started with the party in power. They made utterances to the extent that people warned the Attorney General, please stop the media trial.
But you have just referenced really the Ministry of Justice, but the statement as well references both. It says former and current government.
That's okay. But we as a former government or appointees of former government, we had a right to respond if people are making commentaries. Don't we have a right to respond? Once oral is out there making accusations, of course we'll come back and respond. So certainly we will also make commentary, and it further entrenches the whole political aspect of the debate. But if the government had just allowed the processes to go through without the politicization, look, we had a point where the Attorney General even stated publicly that there was too much political pressure on him. So let's not make this complicated. The issues are twofold. One, the OSP needless show of bravado I am going to punish you. I am going to put your name on the red list as whatever I will do to put your name on it, I will put your name on it. Just to tarnish your image, just to punish you. But you see the comment about, oh, you know, it's just procedural, you know, he's been detained, so putting out the statement that he's been removed and all of that it doesn't really change much. It changes something. Because you see, when you put someone's name on the red list, it's a question of credibility as well. It's a question of credibility as well. So Interpol will come out and say, per our decision, this person does not deserve to be on the red list. It's a way of also restoring the credibility of that individual. So let's not say it does. It means something. That is why there's a whole commission to go through the processes. If the person doesn't have to be there, that is why there are rules, stringent rules that must be met. So if the person is not deserving of being on the list, they will do the right thing by removing the person. So at least the person regains their credibility back. So look, if we want to really fight corruption in this country, we need to stop the needless politicization of it. Okay. We are here expecting Wonder and his political party to retrieve $21 billion. That is our expectation of Ora, to retrieve $21 billion. And you have no excuses.
Okay. Well, Wonder, when I come to you, can address that.
It's just a rhetorical statement. But, you know,
imagine the current government says that some of the things they also said were rhetorical.
No. I'm saying that to him, I'm not expecting him to respond to me.
Let's just, you know, but I hope not. I hope.
No, I have to respond.
Respond to what?
Okay, Kofi.
I have to respond.
I think you have brought again to the table some of the questions I also want answers for, right? That could we have gone through this process genuinely with the Attorney General, who is, if I understand, the sole person who is in charge of extradition in this country, without it being politically colored?
Absolutely, because every extradition goes through that process. When, for example, recent arrests related to cyber crime and so on, the repatriation of Kofi Boateng and all those different people, even the recent one that has come in relation to Abu Trika and so on. Extraditions are going on all the time. It happens. There's nothing strange about it. And the reason why the Attorney General is part of that process is because by the Extradition Act, it is the Attorney General that is a designated minister. Almost every statute stipulates who the designated minister is, which minister is responsible for that particular statute. And so in Ghana, there's no way you can do an extradition if you don't go to the Attorney General. And like I said, we've been doing this for decades, actually. So there's nothing strange. In fact, the OSP itself issued a statement, and of course, they've also explained this variously to the media, that they had to write through the Chief of Staff so that the Attorney General would take over the process, because the OSP by itself cannot do extradition. It cannot. In fact, extradition, even though it's a legal matter, is also a political and diplomatic matter, which means that on the U.S. side, in this specific case, if the request is not coming from a minister of state from Ghana, it will not even be recognized. So assuming OSP decided to even send the request for extradition to the U.S., it will not be complied with, because by law and by international conventions, it is only a minister of state designated to be in charge of extradition who can do so. So OSP requested the Attorney General to do so. And that is the proper thing to do. So it doesn't make it political. If I understand, you see, I haven't seen the actual commission determination. I've seen the OSP statement and they've quoted portions of it. So from what I've seen from the OSP statement, they are saying that one of the things that the commission looks at for, according to its rules, is whether there's politicization around the particular request for the red notice. And according to their determination, there is. So if I cast my mind back and I look at what has happened since that was done, because this red notice request went in June 2025, last year. It's more about the commentary in the public space and he said, she said, that kind of thing.
Is this the first time our Attorney General is going through the process of extraditing a political figure?
No.
Because I hear you say that we've been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
But I cannot see how the OSP starting off this way and the Attorney General joining it wouldn't invite the political coloration. This is my concern.
The political coloration cannot come from that, because that is the only way it can be done.
Okay.
Yes, it doesn't matter who it is, whether it is Sedinam or it is Ken Ofori-Atta. Only the Attorney General can request it. In fact, it's interesting to know that on the U.S. side, of course, there's a legal part of it where a court has to make a determination whether indeed the request is proper, whether there's the offense for which the person is required in the other jurisdiction is an extraditable offense, all of those things. But ultimately, the decision is made by the Secretary of State of the United States in their equivalent, because there is a political decision. In fact, even if a U.S. court determines that the offense is extraditable and they decide that they have cleared the legal hurdle, the Secretary of State can still choose not to extradite.
Okay.
Yes, that's why I'm sure you've even heard recent arguments by some people on our side, at least in Ghana, lawyers and other policy analysts saying that the way we are quick to extradite, they see that it's not the same from the U.S. and other countries. So we too, we should really, because we also can choose not to extradite somebody, even if the request for extradition comes from another country. So it is not only a legal matter, it's political, it's also very diplomatic as well.
What do you say to Kofi's concern that Ken Ofori-Atta has always told us where he is? Why did the OSP have to issue the red notice?
So I think there's at least one key reason that will come to mind, and I think Kofi also alluded to the fact that at some point we did get the information that Ken Ofori-Atta actually left the US to the UK. What if we didn't get that information? What if he went to a non-extraditable country, for example? Which means that it is always possible that even though he was known to be in the US at the time when the OSP was requesting his presence, they were doing a back and forth with the lawyers, he could at any point move to another country. There's no reason why he should remain in the US. It's not only in the US that he could get, for example, the medical care that he was getting. And so the red notice, as I said, is a request that essentially Interpol, when they put on their website, notifies all countries that are members of it that this person is wanted in Ghana.
So assuming he also doesn't have the power to extradite. So when he issues the red notice, the Attorney General will then have to be part of the process.
Not so, because the Interpol actually does not arrest anybody. Interpol itself, what they are doing is essentially to notify other countries and their security agencies to do the arrest when that person enters their jurisdiction.
Okay.
But Attorney General triggering the extradition process is not about Interpol. That's a direct bilateral thing. They are sending a request specific to a country where they know the person is. So in this case, we know that Ken Ofori-Atta is in the US. So the request for extradition is going from the government of Ghana through the Attorney General to the US. The US.
Okay.
No, but another thing. You see, all this while, did we know that while Ken wrote to the OSP asking for time, he was busy looking for visa extensions? Did you know all that? No, we didn't know all that until...
Make that public?
Yeah, but the question is, you had written to the OSP. First of all, when you were traveling, you wrote that you were traveling. You're coming at a certain date. You didn't show up. The OSP wrote to you. You wrote back that you can't come at a certain date, so give me time. The OSP gave you time. When that time was up, no word, nothing.
Are you sure there was no word?
There was no word. That's what the OSP said.
There were legal correspondence.
Then that's where the correspondence started, and then he said he could do via Zoom or whatever. So for a criminal proceedings, nobody will allow you in any jurisdiction to do Zoom or whatever call, and nobody could represent you even when the law enforcement agencies call for you. You have to be there yourself. It's not a civil matter for you to decide that, okay, I'm sending my lawyer, speak to my lawyer, and everything is fine. They needed his presence. So all this business about politicization did not start with the OSP, neither the Attorney General. It started with Ken himself. When you start writing, he wrote a first article where he categorically said that he has been persecuted or is being persecuted by political elements and all that and all that. That's where the whole thing started. And they took it as a crusade. In fact, the MPP went on their own and made commentaries that politicized this whole thing. We do know that for a politician who has been involved in some alleged corruption practices, it will definitely be politicized. But to what extent? And at what point?
But the OSP cites the Ministry of Justice as well. That's commentaries from that as well. Also, also
yeah, but the Attorney General was responding to comments in the public domain.
But wouldn't he respond knowing that he can be cited for politicizing the matter?
No, where politicizing means what? The man is playing his role.
But I'm saying
Guaranteed.
this because it showed up in the statement. That
Yeah, I'm saying that he's playing his role. First of all, you must understand that Interpol may not know the intricacies within our political domain. Any case that is a political matter going to Interpol will definitely be politicized. The person in question is a political figure. And therefore, this business about, we have politicized, that's why, it doesn't destroy the case. The case is that the man has been named in some corruption, alleged corruption practices. The state wants him in Ghana to be tried. Whatever it is, how would you take politics out of that? Because he was there on behalf of a political party as it were appointed. And so, this business about somebody has politicized.
You see, my sister, here's the point. Here's the point.
Then finally, on the business about on his business about we recouping 21 billion and whatever.
All right, when we
it is this but it's this conduct. It is this conduct, this thinking that everything that the AG or the OSP goes after is political. It's the reason why some of these things are happening. Okay. When you you take politics out of the process, we can make good progress.
It's a good place to learn.
You see,
Kofi, you want to?
You see, my sister.
Are you also responding?
You see, there are we have evidence and history